Hey guys, this is Allie with iMore and Pixel Fix, and today we're going to look at how to replace or fix a home button on a GSM iPhone 4. Whether or not you need to replace this or just maybe it's creaking and you have something stuck underneath it, you feel like you need to clean it out, this is what you're going to want to do. This is for a GSM iPhone 4 only. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is take out the SIM card, but first we'll point out what tools you're going to need for this. You're going to need a SIM removal tool or paper clip, either one will work. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver. I've just got a multi-tool here, probably about that size. You need these for the logic board screws. They're kind of little unicorn screws. They actually have cross heads on them, but a flathead will work to take them out. In the GSM model, you only have one to worry about. 00 Phillips screwdriver. You'll need a security screwdriver if your phone is one of the newer ones with the 5-point screws as opposed to standard Phillips screws. And a pry tool or spudger. I prefer these, but a plastic pry tool will work just as well. So first what we're going to do is we're going to remove the SIM card. And next we are going to remove the dot connector screws in the bottom. On this phone they're standard Phillips, so I'm going to use my 00. And of course you're going to want to power off your device before you perform any repair. And before we really get into a lot of screws, you're going to want to find a way to organize screws that you're going to remember where they come in and go out from, considering there's quite a few screws and they do have different head sizes, different thread sizes, so it can waste a lot of time if you don't remember where the screws go. Next, you're just going to want to pop off your back, just slide it up, and it should pop right off. So next what we're going to want to do is remove the battery. Use your 00 Phillips screwdriver, and there's one screw holding it right here on the GSM model. So I'm going to remove that screw and set it aside. Next we're going to use our pry tool to pry off the clip holding down the battery, which is right here. And just gently take the end of your pry tool and lift off. And you have a little grounding clip underneath the battery clip right here that you'll need to set aside for reassembly later. The easiest way I've found to pull these batteries out, don't use the pull tab. They either tear or you can bend the battery, which you don't want to do. There's no components along this side of the phone that you can really damage, so what I do is I stick a pry tool under here and gently pry up, and that seems to be a much better way to pull the battery out. So I'll set that aside, and here's the little grounding clip I was talking about. So you're going to want to set that aside with the battery. Next what we're going to do is we are going to remove the shield that covers the cable for the dot connector. As a tip, I typically fold this over onto the adhesive so it stays out of the way. You don't have to, but I've just found that to be an easy way to do that. So we're going to remove these two screws right here. They are different sizes, so pay attention that you're keeping them in the correct order. And once you've got these two screws out, you're going to notice that this shield just comes right up. So there's the shield piece. We're going to set that aside with those two screws. Now we can pop up this cable right here. The easiest way to do this is with your pry tool and just pop it up from the side. How you're going to want to remove this is you want to be careful because there is adhesive holding it down. This phone's been taken apart before. Your phone, if it's never been taken apart, you're going to have a bit more adhesive to pull up right here. So just be careful that you don't tear the cable while doing that. Next, what we're going to do is you've got your antenna right here, and all you're going to do to release that is pry it up very gently and move it to the side. And this piece right here is your speaker assembly, and that's what we're going to get to, but first we need to remove the logic board. So you've got a couple screws holding your logic board down. Up here you have a shield with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. And we're going to pause to remove these 5 screws. Just make sure that you're setting them in the order that they go in. Okay, now to get to the cables under the logic board, the 5 screws that you just removed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're holding down this shield. If you can see right here, there's actually a little clip that's holding it in place. The easiest way to remove this is to just stick your pry tool underneath that clip and this shield will come loose. So this is the shield you're removing. You're going to set that aside. And now we've got down to the components and the cables on the logic board. So we're going to need to unclip 6 clips here. First is your camera. You can unclip that one. Next is your LCD and digitizer. 2, 3. And then you've got 3 clips right here that come up the opposite way. So you're gonna, and these are sensors and whatnot. So up this way, 2, 3. So now that we've got those 3 out, you can remove your camera by gently lifting upwards and it'll come right out. So you can set that aside. Now we've got a couple more screws holding down the logic board. Pretty much 3 more. You've got one right here in this corner underneath the dot connector cable. You've got one right here, which is underneath a water sensor you'll need to remove. The easiest way I found to remove this is to either just use the tip of a small screwdriver or a pry tool sometimes will work if you've got a pointed one. And then you've got one more screw up here holding it in, and that's the flathead screw that I was talking about. So we'll start with these 2 down here, and these are just 00, so your 00 should work. Just going to remove 1, 2, and then for the one up here, I'm going to switch to my flathead screwdriver and 3. So just as a note, these 2 screws are the same size as is the one over here in your dot connector corner, so those 3 you can group together if that's easier for you, however you want to sort them. Next, what we're going to do is actually remove the logic board. The first thing you want to do is make sure your cables are out of the way. Just bend them back gently a little bit. The easiest way to do this is to grab it from the bottom and gently lift upwards. I normally use the camera hole to position my finger in the top. And the logic board should come out pretty easily. So, as a side note, there's a little rubber piece that sits right up here on the logic board. It's loose. If this is not there when you reassemble it, your Wi-Fi or your, well, probably just your Wi-Fi may not work. It grounds it, so you're going to want to make sure you don't lose that little rubber piece. So then we set the logic board aside, and now we've gotten to our speaker assembly. We only have one more screw holding it down, so we're going to remove that. Okay, so now we've gotten to the speaker assembly, and to pop that out, all you do is pretty much lift it out of the phone. Okay, next what we're going to want to do for either a home button assembly or a screen assembly is we need to remove 4 screws in the corner. As you'll see up here, the vibrator assembly is still here, so I'll need to remove that. So there is a screw behind it that we'll need to take out. And again, these 2 screws are different sizes, so you want to make sure you don't mix them up. and that'll just pop right out. Okay, now we've got 4 screws in each corner that we're going to need to completely remove. Okay, so we've removed the 4 screws that are in each corner. There's one underneath the vibrator assembly. There's one right here in this corner, and then 2 down by the dot connector. One of them is right here, and the other one is right there. So once we remove those, now we have 6 screws with washers that hold the frame of the phone in. All 10 of these screws are responsible for basically holding the screen and the LCD on your phone. The other 6 that are in the middle, you don't need to completely take out. You can if you want, but the washers are a huge pain to get back in if you take them out. So I recommend just loosening these because that's going to be enough to get the screen off. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And usually 2 to 3 turns is enough to loosen these, and I'll show you how I do this. Is I loosen them, and then I look to see if they've got some give to them. If they've gotten give, they're out far enough. What I do is run a pry tool or a razor blade along the inside edge until it's loose. You can straighten these cables a little bit, makes it easier for them to come out. And then go down here on the underside and do the same thing. And once the adhesive's broken, it should just slide right out. And at the top there is quite a bit of adhesive, so, and you can see I've applied more adhesive to this one so it is sticking. Once it's out, this frame will separate, and just back these ribbon cables out carefully. Okay, so if you're replacing your home button, all you're going to want to do is set your screen aside, and then right here is your home button mechanism. I recommend just replacing the entire button with the cable, and I'll link in the article to a parts supplier that will provide that. You can just get the flex cable or the button, but I mean there's a minimal price difference and it comes pre-assembled for you. The way the home button sticks on here is there is a tiny cable on the underside when you flip it over with a latch, and all you do to replace this is flip up this latch and back this cable out. This home button is not bad, so I'm not going to do that. But all you would do is basically wiggle this cable out and then stick the new one in from the front. So what you're going to do is line up the home button and then basically weave the cable through here and plug in the new one. And then when you're done, just stick that little clip back down. These clips are very similar to the ones you find on the iPhone 3 GS for the prox cable sensor, which we've covered before. So once that's in, if you're replacing a home button, that's as far as you're going to want to go, and then you're ready for reassembly.